Imagine checking your phone and seeing that $400 just disappeared from your bank account, spent somewhere you've never even been. So the question is, will the bank give that money back to you, or is it gone forever? Here's the good news. There's a federal law that already exists for exactly this kind of situation. But here's the bad news. If you don't know the rules of this law, you could end up losing your own money anyway. Today, we're talking about Regulation E, and I'm going to break down exactly how it works. Welcome back to Money Regulation Hub, where we simplify complicated financial rules so you can protect your money smartly. Today's topic is Regulation E, a federal rule that everyone who uses a debit card, ATM, or online banking should know about, which basically means all of us. In this video, we'll cover what Regulation E actually is, why it was created, exactly what situations it protects you in, what this law does not cover, and step by step what you should do if fraud happens to you. If you watch this video till the end, I guarantee that next time there's an unauthorized transaction on your card, you'll know exactly what to do. Let's get started. Let's start with the basics. Regulation E is a federal regulation that falls under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, or EFTA. This law was created back in 1978, and its purpose was simple: to protect any transaction where your money moves electronically. This includes debit card transactions, ATM withdrawals, direct deposits like your salary, online bill payments, and even peer-to-peer transfers like Zelle or Venmo under certain conditions. Basically, if the movement of your money involves a computer, a card, or any electronic system, Regulation E likely applies. This law applies to both banks and credit unions, whether it's a small local credit union or a huge national bank. In simple terms, this law is your digital financial bodyguard. Now the question is, why was this law even needed? Back in the 1970s, when electronic banking was just getting started, consumers had almost no legal protection. If someone's card got stolen or their account got hacked, the bank had no legal obligation to give that person's money back. Think about it. You keep your life savings in a bank, and if fraud happens, the bank just says, "Sorry, that's your problem." How would that feel? That's exactly why the US Congress passed the Electronic Fund Transfer Act in 1978, and the Federal Reserve created Regulation E, so that consumers get clear rights, banks have defined responsibilities, and there's a fair, fast resolution process in case of fraud. This law essentially builds a trust system between the bank and the customer, where both sides' responsibilities are clearly written out. Now here's where it gets interesting. Let's break down each protection in detail. The first one is limited liability. If your debit card is lost or stolen, Regulation E limits your financial liability, but this is time sensitive. If you report it within 2 business days, your maximum liability is just $50. If you report it between 2 and 60 days, your liability can rise up to $500. And if you wait more than 60 days after your statement, you could lose everything. No limit at all. These numbers are really important to remember. This means if you don't regularly check your statement and fraud goes unnoticed for 2 months, the bank is not legally bound to give you anything back. Let's say Sarah's card gets stolen and she reports it to the bank the same day. Her liability will only be $50, even if the thief withdrew $2,000. But if Sarah checks her statement 3 months later and notices it then, she could lose the entire $2,000. The second protection is the right to dispute. If you spot an unauthorized transaction, you have a legal right to formally dispute that charge. Once you file a dispute, the bank is legally bound to complete its investigation within 10 business days. If they need more time, they're required to give you provisional credit, meaning a temporary refund, while the investigation continues. In some cases, the investigation can extend up to 45 days. This means you don't have to wait around for your money the entire time. The bank has to take action right away. The third protection is clear disclosures. Under Regulation E, banks are legally required to give you a receipt or confirmation for every transaction, provide monthly statements listing every electronic transaction, and clearly disclose any fees in advance. This transparency exists specifically so you can quickly spot any incorrect or fraudulent transaction. The fourth protection is control over pre-authorized transfers. If you've set up a recurring payment, like a gym membership or a subscription service, you have the legal right to cancel it. And if you notify your bank in time, they're legally required to stop that payment. This is especially useful for people who forget what they've subscribed to and only realize a month later that money's been getting deducted. Now here's an important part that very few people actually know. Regulation E does not cover credit cards. It only applies to debit cards and electronic bank transfers. Credit card fraud falls under a different law called the Truth in Lending Act. Here's the difference. Debit card fraud pulls money directly out of your bank account. and recovery takes time. With credit card fraud, you're using the bank's money, so your own cash flow isn't immediately affected, and the dispute process tends to be more consumer-friendly. This is exactly why financial experts always say, use a credit card for online shopping, not a debit card, because if fraud happens, recovery is easier and faster with a credit card. One more thing Regulation E doesn't cover. If you voluntarily give someone your PIN or card details and they misuse it, that's considered an authorized transaction, even if that person later turns out to be dishonest with you. Now let's go through a practical, step-by-step guide on what to do if fraud happens to you. First, as soon as you notice an unauthorized transaction, immediately call your bank or report it through the app. Time is critical. The faster you act, the lower your liability. Second, make sure to request written confirmation of your dispute through email or letter. This is important for your own records. Third, monitor your account daily until the issue is resolved, because sometimes one fraud incident is followed by multiple unauthorized transactions. Fourth, if the bank unfairly rejects your dispute, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or CFPB. This federal agency exists specifically to hold banks accountable. And fifth, make it a habit to check your statements every month. Even if nothing seems wrong, this is the simplest yet most effective protection there is. If you follow these 5 steps, you can recover your money in 99% of cases. So let's quickly recap what we learned today. Regulation E is a federal law that protects electronic transactions, debit cards, ATMs, and direct deposits. How quickly you report fraud determines your liability. The faster, the better. $50 versus $500 versus unlimited loss. You have the legal right to dispute unauthorized charges, and the bank must investigate within 10 days. Banks are legally required to give you clear receipts and monthly statements. Credit cards are not covered under this law. They have separate protections. And if the bank isn't being fair, you can file a complaint with the CFPB. The most important lesson here is regularly checking your account is the simplest habit that can save you thousands of dollars. So that was a complete breakdown of Regulation E, a law you've probably never heard of before, but one that protects your money every single day. If this video was helpful for you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because every week we explain important financial regulations in simple language, the kind of things you were never taught in school. In the next video, we'll talk about how credit card fraud protections actually work and how they're different from debit cards, along with more practical tips. Let me know in the comments, has debit card fraud ever happened to you? What was your experience? See you in the next video. Until then, keep protecting your money smartly. Take care.